The talk show host, Alan, spoke about her experience with COVID-19.
I was in hair and makeup and getting my face powdered and my extensions put in. And then my assistant, Craig, walks in and said, "You tested positive for COVID." And then everyone around me ran away. It's funny. People just really get scared. I'm not saying if you have back pain, you have COVID, but it is a symptom. It's the only symptom I had. I didn't have a headache. I didn't have fever. I didn't lose my sense of taste, although I did wear Crocs with socks for a day. So you be the judge.
Okay, so the reason why I played that is because the official number diagnosed with COVID-19 or the coronavirus is around 23 million in the US. But many were asymptomatic, or they had mild symptoms like Alan described there, or they went undiagnosed. So the real number of those who've been infected could be, I think some say, around 20% of the population. So if those vaccine levels can get up to 50% or maybe better, and that's not that impossible, we're talking about some kind of herd immunity. Is that sort of broad brushstrokes where we're heading? And if so, what would be the time frame?
Well, it is the broad brushstrokes, but the truth is that we don't know exactly how many people have been infected. If there are more people that have been infected and have antibodies, obviously that would help us reach herd immunity sooner. Listen, I think the most conservative estimate of reaching herd immunity is still 4, 5, 6 months away, especially at the rate that people are going to get this vaccination. You know, so it's a factor of the efficacy of the vaccine and how many people get it. So we need to get at least 70% of the population to take the vaccine, and if the vaccine is 90% or 70% effective, we're almost there. And at the pace we're going, it's going to take months.
Yeah, that's the thing. So the faster we get, obviously this is the issue, the distribution of the vaccine, and that's why the slowdown and the disorganization among the states has been a major concern. Listening to Joe Biden and his plan, the detailed plan for vaccinations, 100 million shots in 100 days, are you more hopeful that there will be a speed up here, a significant speed up in distribution?
Well, first of all, I just have to say that it's great that we have somebody that comes out and actually has a plan. And the next step is actually to put that plan into effect. It's all right now pie in the sky, but at least, you know, there's going to be money allotted, or at least Congress should approve it, so that we have more vaccination centers, so that we have mobile vaccine vans that can go to people that can't get it. Increased testing, 100,000 more public health workers is part of what he's promising. So there is a plan to improve it, but again, I think that we do need federal leadership, and I think every state is not West Virginia that can do it. So I think once you give people the template, each state will do better. I'm just hoping that this does go through, and right now that it's not just pie in the sky and words.
Leadership matters. Dr. Jorge Rodriguez, thank you for being with us. We appreciate it.
Thank you, sir.
Welcome back, everybody. You're watching CNN Newsroom. I'm John Vors. Well, we had the latest now on the incoming Biden administration, and just hours ago, the president-elect announced nearly $2 trillion to try and end the pandemic and restart a battered economy. Along with a national vaccination program, Biden has promised stimulus checks of $1,400 for most Americans. CNN's Jeff Zeleny has details.
President-elect Joe Biden offering the most detailed plan yet for how he plans to fight the coronavirus pandemic and boost the U.S. economy, offering a $1.9 trillion plan on Thursday night here in Wilmington. Now, of course, next week is his inaugural address in Washington, but the address he gave certainly offers the nuts and bolts outline of his agenda, and it is indeed a sweeping and ambitious plan. He calls it an achievable one. He said it's a moral obligation to act in all of this respects. First and foremost, it is to help tame the coronavirus pandemic that is just crushing the U.S. economy and, of course, rising death tolls day by day. Now, he is going to offer a vaccination distribution plan that is entirely different than the one the Trump administration has been using for the last several months. He called that plan a dismal failure.
This will be one of the most challenging operational efforts we have ever undertaken as a nation. We'll have to move heaven and earth to get more people vaccinated, to create more places for them to get vaccinated, to mobilize more medical teams to get shots in people's arms, to increase vaccine supply, and to get it out the door as fast as possible.
And he's also calling on Congress, members of both parties, to come together to pass an economic relief bill as well, a $15 minimum wage plan, which, of course, Republicans have been opposed to. So this certainly sets the framework for his presidency. One thing he did not mention, impeachment. That, of course, is something he'll be inheriting as well. Will be happening at the very time he's trying to push this agenda through the Congress. It's an open question how he can do both. Jeff Zeleny, CNN, Wilmington, Delaware.
Live to CNN's John Defterios in Dubai for more on this. So, what was interesting about this statement, about this plan, it's almost $2 trillion. It's a monster. But it's a lot more, it seems, than just about dealing with this pandemic. It's got a lot of progressive policies in there, and it's one of those things where you don't let a crisis go to waste, I think is the correct statement, or the correct term.
Yeah, it's a different tone and a different emphasis, John. I think the Trump administration, particularly with the Treasury Secretary Steve Mnuchin, was always tilting towards big business and the financial markets. That's not what we have in this package here, but it is ambitious at $1.9 trillion, and there's 100 million vaccines in 100 days, the same. To put it into perspective, they had the first bailout in March 2020 when this vaccine pandemic which actually hitting everybody worldwide, the pandemic itself, and then the vaccine promise that was going to come later. This is just shy of that. Now we're talking about $5 trillion, including that package in December 2020. Here's Joe Biden on the urgency of why he put something so big on the table.
It's not hard to see that we're in the middle of the once-in-several-generations economic crisis with a once-in-several-generations public health crisis. The crisis of deep human suffering is in plain sight, and there's no time to waste. We have to act, and we have to act now.
Bold statements here by Joe Biden. And I think this is, as you were suggesting, John, pretty comprehensive. It's $15 billion in grants to small business. They're going to be targeting the 1 million most suffering small businesses, and that's going to be hard to identify. $35 billion of state and local government. This is something that the Senate Republicans were fighting against, but now that he has both chambers, he can move forward with that. And also a lot in terms of affordable care. This is interesting. Those payments are going to be going to 100 million of the most suffering workers in the United States and those who are facing the real pandemic head on here right now. But 100 million, John, the workforce is 160 million. A lot of people aren't talking about that subtle difference here in the package. It is wide-reaching and far left of center. Let's put it that way.
Yeah. Yeah, there will be certainly many on the progressive side of the Democrat Party which will be pleased, you would imagine. One thing about this, though, it's all spending. There's no talk of revenue, no tax increases, no offset cuts to pay for it. So with that in mind, it's all just put on the national credit card, print some more money, go to the national debt. What's the reaction from the business groups to all that?
Well, this is also quite interesting that you bring it up, John. I'm glad you noted it, because we had an immediate response from the U.S. Chamber of Commerce, which is the largest trade association in Washington. They said they look forward to working with the Biden administration, happy he focused on small business, and happy he focused on families. The day before, the Business Roundtable, more elite collection of CEOs, also endorsed Biden, not this package, but saying they really look forward to having a moderate voice in the White House. So this is a huge shift. Now, if you look at the market reaction, we've had a good 3% gain in the S&P 500 over the last week since the Georgia elections and that power that the Democrats have in both chambers. So we have U.S. futures trading down about 1/3 to 0.5%. And if you look at the Asian markets, we have Hong Kong and Shanghai, which is kind of minimal losses here. The South Korean index in Seoul is down, nearly 2%, but it was up 30% last year. The debt is a problem, and that's why we're having second doubts on Wall Street after the big rallies we've seen since the start of the year and all the violence not rattling investors so far.